Hey, welcome to Cruise Control, everyone. I'm Fred Staub, and as always, along with me is none other than Les Jackson. How you doing this week, Les Jackson?
Here, sir. Here, sir. Just great. We're, of course, digging our way out of a pile of information on the auto industry.
Yeah, we wanted to
It's changing.
tease changing a lot. Yeah, we wanted to tease a little bit. What's coming up. Supply chain problems, nothing new there, but it is really cutting into some manufacturers' number of vehicles they plan on producing, and one vehicle could be delayed till 2027. It's not just the auto industry, I tell you. I'm waiting to
Yep.
update my workstation, and it just keeps getting pushed back further and further. Well, sometime in 2024. Imagine that.
Uh, yeah, and you'll start getting the Amazon "will be delivering soon" messages.
That's right. That's
And
right. Coming up soon.
yeah, we'll let you know when.
We'll let you
Uh,
know.
yeah, and a lot of people are getting their wiring harnesses chewed up.
That's
um,
true.
which you get rodents,
Yeah.
rats, mice, squirrels, and it's the materials that they're making these things out of that are edible. I
Yeah.
guess not for you and me. I've tasted them; they're not very good.
Here's something that's kind of good. How about the Maverick, Ford Maverick Tremor? It's another affordable off-roader from Ford. They showed a F-150 about a week ago that
Yep.
we liked, called the Rattler, and this is the Tremor. And good looking bit of kit for the Maverick, which of course is still selling like
Boy,
hotcakes, right?
talk about it's the new Mustang. The phenomenon is
Hey,
um, wow.
talking about Mustang, the Ring brothers, who do incredible detailed work, have put together this 1964 and a half Mustang. It is, they say, possibly one of the best resto mods of a Mustang. It's got a Coyote engine in it, and
Wow.
everything is hand fabricated except for the emblems on the center of the wheels. That came from them,
Wow.
but everything else is hand fabricated
Okay,
and
okay. So now you're going to give me the bad news that I can't buy this for $2,460.
it's yes, and it is a one-off. so,
Uh-oh.
yeah, so it's already paid for. And then we're going to tell you about Jeep a little later on. It's just not worth it for them to build vehicles in China. Well, they're pulling out of it. That was once the big
Hmm.
market, but it's really changing. We'll tell you how it's changing. And then I'm going to have a little bit later on a review of the Toyota Corolla Cross. Makes sense, one of their most popular models. Why not turn it into a crossover? Because who doesn't
Yeah.
need more crossovers right
Well, uh, I've actually seen an entire day without seeing a crossover recently.
now? How is that even possible, Les
I
Jackson?
stayed inside.
Yes, I wore my sleep shade all
Yeah,
all day
that's
long.
that's right.
Yeah. Well, we're also going to tell you about the demise of another sedan. Um,
Oh, come on, stop it.
yeah, we're gonna tell you about that. But there's a rumor that there's another sedan that is
Okay,
based around a very sporty two-door car. So there's your tease.
excellent.
Not that, we've seen that happen before, haven't we, with the
We
Mach
have
E?
seen that. We have seen that, and I still say the sedan is going to come back.
I think it will come back, and we last week we talked about the Toyota Crown, which is the Avalon. It comes back as a
Right?
high-riding sedan. So, well, just take the current sedans and put like a 12-inch lift kit on it. How's that sound?
I don't think that would go over well. Um, Avalon is a the traditional Avalon is a nice low slung highway cruiser.
Yeah, you don't. I went by one the other day and I thought that's a good vehicle. Hey, anyway, we're going to jump away here, get ready for the live show. So stay tuned. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. We will be right back.
Control. Your on-air automotive magazine with co-hosts Fred Staub and Les Jackson. Control. Everything you need to know about new and used cars. Control. Industry news. We'll fix or repair your car on the air. Control. Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin. Control. Because you're on Cruise Control. Cruise Control. Cruise Control.
And welcome, everyone, to Cruise Control. This is, as they said, your on-air automotive magazine. I am Les Jackson. That other guy at the other desk is Fred Staub. You know us. We're here live every week and for many years. And a lot of things going on in the auto industry, most of which are rather exciting and kind of fun. A few, of course, there's always a little bad news, but hey, it's a big industry.
Yeah, that's true. It is a big industry, Les. And, you know, it sounds like we're playing the broken record here, but our first story deals with supply chain problems. Manufacturers are delaying new models. One of them is going to delay one to 2027.
That's
a long time. Yeah,
that's a delay.
And many others are cutting back on production numbers because they just can't get parts. Remember, we saw Subaru. They were supposed to come out with an all-new Crosstrek, one of their most popular models. They couldn't do it, so they're just extending the current the 2022 model as a 2023 until they can get that production started. So it's going on across the industry.
Yeah, and of course that keeps the prices at the dealerships high because the total volume of vehicles isn't where it was when COVID started. And you know, kind of wish it would get there so prices would get more reasonable. But anyway, on the good side, Ford showed off the cost-effective off-roader, the Maverick Tremor.
Yep.
Which is, boy, it's a lot for the money.
Yeah, it sure is, and we're going to look into that. And if you're able to buy one of these things, Mavericks are in demand for sure. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll also talk about rats chewing your wiring harness, Les Jackson. That's a big problem.
It is a big problem. I think Purina shouldn't be manufacturing wiring harnesses.
Yeah, and plus, Toyota is recalling one of its most popular models, and it is this was just released, and it is a problem. So they're going to be doing that, and buying back this model. So,
boy, that's a bad word or phrase in the auto industry. And, you know, cars from the 1990s are becoming kind of hot when it comes to collectability. There's one that I've always said is going to be really collectible.
What's that?
That's that Subaru. I have a mental block at the moment on the model, but it was the Subaru, kind of a high-performance sedan.
Oh, I remember
that only went down halfway.
Popular with dentists, yes.
Very popular with dentists.
Yeah, well, they may be the hot ticket, and we'll talk about some other collectible 1990 cars and a whole bunch more, when we get rolling on this edition of Cruise Control Radio. We'll be right back.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. Les, you and I talked about supply chain problems for a long time now, and I guess is it getting any better? I mean, what?
Well, yes and no. It's getting better in some types of chips,
Yep.
but other types of chips, no.
Well, look at what's happening to Lucid. Now, they have a number of luxury high-end electric vehicles, beautiful design, but
Yep.
they originally promised 20,000 cars for 2022. They feel they're going to build about 6,000 to 7,000 of them because they can't get parts.
Yep. Yep. And there's nothing they can do about it.
Nothing they can do about it. And it is, you talk about, well, everyone's switching to electric cars and new manufacturers and that. They just can't do it. I mean, weirdly, what could happen with some of these manufacturers is they may not survive, not because they didn't have orders or even capital. They just couldn't get the
Yeah.
parts to build what people wanted and had ordered.
And they've opened these beautiful storefronts in high-end malls around the country where you can go in and learn all about it and order it. This is costing them a lot of money.
Yeah, it sure is. And
So, wow.
so it's tough on new manufacturers like that are not necessarily high volume manufacturers, but they have a niche, they have the orders, they have the deposits, they have the hand raisers, but if they can't get them what they want, do we think we'll ever see the Cybertruck from Tesla the way things are? Or will we see the Semi? Do you think we'll ever see that?
Remember, I'm on record as saying it would never happen in the first place.
Wow.
So no, I don't.
What a weird time. I mean, we've never experienced that where someone, unless it was like just a total huckster, but usually if someone promises something, they get it out there, right?
Yes, but I think they're putting all their efforts into getting a first tourist trip to Mars,
Okay.
which will not go well.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, there's the case for Lucid, but BMW says it expects fewer deliveries despite strong EV demand. BMW's lowered their output forecasts and warned of highly volatile second half
Yep.
of 2022, and supplies of energy in Europe and chips worldwide are two of the main features or reasons why that they'll be tightened. The supplies of these vehicles will be tightened. They just can't build them. It's got to be the most frustrating thing in the world. People want them. You have personnel to build them, but you don't have the parts, or you don't even have the gas to run the machinery, right?
People are paying a premium to get them.
Yeah.
And you can't build them.
them. So,
man, it's like World War II. You couldn't buy a car
right
in 1942.
Right. And they would,
So,
and some of them at the early part of the war, they would put on like a wood bumper to save some of the steel. Now, talk about collectible. If you could find a car that came from the factory with a wood bumper.
Oh man, and they were putting used tires on them.
Oh, that's a great idea.
At the factories.
That is a great idea. I mean, the only time you want to do that is to like, well, we got to push that one aside and just roll it in the shop somewhere. It's not like, hey, here's your new Ford, and don't look at that right rear tire. It's a little thin.
I hope we haven't given Elon Musk an idea.
That's right. He'll go to where they dump all those tires in the swamps and just pull one out. It's like, hey, here's a white wall, a truck tire. Some kind of off-road mutter tire.
And a bias belted wide oval.
Yeah, and you got a tractor tire for the front. Well, BMW has said the all new BMW 3 Series built on the new class
Right.
platform will only arrive by 2027. Now, the
Yeah,
current
why?
generation, the G20, will live on longer than originally planned.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Why would you even announce it?
I, I, I don't know. It seems like you have plenty of time to wait to announce that, but I don't know why. This is kind of a
Yeah.
rumor mill situation. We'll talk a little bit about that and what their plans might be, and will it even have an internal combustion engine? Well, we'll find out when we come back on Cruise Control. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. We're taking you on a ride around the automotive industry, so stay tuned. That's coming up and more.
Cruise Control.
Hey, welcome back to Cruise Control. We are continuing with the good news, the models you sort of can get.
Sort of.
Yes,
You can look at them.
I guess that doesn't count as good news.
No. We were talking about BMW and their
Yeah,
new class architecture. There will be, by the way, a internal combustion version of that, as well as an all-electric version. But this is going to not be available to 2027. Talk about into the
um,
future. I mean, they just can't do it, I guess.
why even plan a model 5 years out? Things change.
Yeah.
Um, it just I wouldn't even talk about it.
Well, the current, according to this article that was in CarBuzz, the current G20 series, 3 series, will receive yet another update in 2024 to keep it fresh, and then it will soldier on a couple of more years until 2027
Hmm.
arrives. So there you have
It's
it.
like the '70s Corvettes. They just
Yeah, they used the same frame from
year,
1963, right?
yeah, yeah,
It was
63 all the way through
eight
1982
two.
or three. Yeah,
Yeah. No, that is that is crazy. When you say that, people don't believe it, but it's the same frame. It
it
is
is
the
true.
same frame,
Same chassis.
and the body got swapped in '68,
Yeah.
and that was a
Uh,
troublesome year for Corvette.
yeah, they had body fit, panel fit problems
And electrical
that
problems.
and electrical problems, and T-tops blew off at 100 miles an hour, which was annoying.
Yes,
Um,
makes a big mess. Hey, let's talk a little bit about another vehicle that's been a bit of a unobtainium, and that is the Ford Maverick. They have a new Maverick Tremor off-road package, and it is a pretty cool little package. It's not like it's not like a Raptor, but it's got a 1-inch lift for greater ground clearance, exclusive trail control, which is sort of like cruise control for your vehicle when you're on the trail. You set it, and you're not going to go 50 miles an hour on the trail with this, but you
no,
could go 3 miles an hour and just kind of crawl along and concentrate on driving. Unique off-road tailored front and rear suspension, advanced all-wheel drive with four-wheel drive lock, a 2-liter EcoBoost engine, and distinctive Tremor cues, including blacked-out Ford logos,
yep.
headlamps, tail lamps,
Now,
orange tow hooks, and more.
now, if you order one of these, um, when do you think you'd get it?
2027?
No,
No.
I would think maybe
Next year sometime, early.
early next year.
Yeah. Great little truck. I have not driven this yet. You have. You loved it,
I
didn't you?
have I can't speak higher of it. It is really a pleasant thing to drive. I can see why people are loving the thing and offering big bucks for them.
Once again, though, wouldn't Ford love to have like an unlimited supply of these things that they could just like, yep, we've got like 20 on the lot,
Yep.
take a pick and come back and tell us which one you want. Uh, it's great that I think Ford has been putting together these. We've seen this in their crossovers where they did a little bit of a lift, a little bit of a toughening up, but they must see a market for four-wheel drive pickups where it's not the full-on Raptor, it's not the full-on, Silverado. It is something in between where you get a little bit of the looks, you actually get usable stuff. So it's not just stickers and wheels. You get a little bit of a lift, which does increase
Right.
capability a bit, a little bit of technology to boost the all-wheel drive capability, and a little bit of an appearance. And this must just be a market that we're going to see more vehicles like this. The slightly
Yeah,
improved off-roader.
I look at these as kind of the modern equivalent of the early '60s Woodies, the Woody wagons that were kind of off-road on the beaches,
Mm-hmm.
surfboards on top, lots of girls in bikinis. I think this is just one of these fun, get off the highway vehicles to just play with.
Yeah, yeah, it is, and if you're using the vehicle every day to go places, you don't need the huge lift with the choppy tires that make that
No,
whirring sound when you go down the highway. And it's enough of a tough look. It's enough of capability to kind of set you apart, but it's not going to be something that's going to make it ridiculous. That you're ready to go on the Rubicon Trail when you only need to park in the parking garage, right?
Yeah, I've especially in this hot weather, I see a lot of these guys in their Jeeps with all the doors off and everything, and
You and I
the
talked.
massive tires,
Yeah.
and they look real uncomfortable.
You know what I saw the other day? A guy was driving a Jeep with his foot out the driver's door, right next to the window, the windshield post, completely sticking out there, driving along. That's
Well,
kind of a
that's
bad idea, I think, don't you?
yeah, that's
Unless you're looking to give an orthopedic surgeon some work.
uh, that's I think that's it. He's an advertisement for parts swap, hip replacements.
Hip replacement, foot
Yep.
repair, all that. Yeah. Yeah, don't do that. Please don't put your feet up on the airbag on the passenger side.
No, if you do that
Your toes
and
will
you
end up past
crash,
your ears.
yes, you are going to be gravely injured.
Yep. Yeah, it's not designed to work that way. So that's our summer
No.
driving tips here on Cruise Control. Um, let's talk a little bit about rats chewing harnesses. This was a story from the New York Times, and apparently what they've done is they've made the wiring harnesses a little bit more organic and less just heavy plastic. And this stuff is really uh, rats are digging
It,
it,
it well,
and rodents are
it's
digging it.
a lot of it's soy based,
Yeah, and and,
um,
and
and the rodent can smell the organic food material in it.
right, and they're enhanced by that. Plus, there's a lot of garbage sitting around. This, according to Michael H. Parsons, a Fordham University
Yep,
research scholar, that with restaurants shutting down, a lot of empty places, it attracts rodents. Now, if you've never been to New York City, you go down in the subway and you see them running around on the tracks all the time, and they're big.
yeah.
You always see them. It's not
There's there's a great video that's been on the internet for the last year or so of a rat going down the stairs in the subway
with pizza.
with a piece of pizza in its mouth.
Yeah, it's a New York rat. They like what
Hey,
doesn't like pizza. um, I had a story where I had a van from our press fleet, and I had to go into the city, and it was you're going on Long Island Expressway, a very difficult road. All of a sudden, the vehicle goes into limp home mode. Lights go on. Everything says it's failing. It's
yep,
shuddering, right? And I nursed it to where I had to go, and uh, I opened the hood, and it was loaded with nuts underneath, and I think a squirrel had bitten through one of the vacuum lines. So
sure.
so I went to Home Depot, and I went and found ice maker tubing and jammed together the line with some gaffer tape, and it worked. It like I started it up. It had to learn for like 2 minutes, and then it was fine. And the guys at the car delivery place were very impressed. I said, "Well, it's not a final fix, but at least it works."
Sure, you know what? I'll bet that is still in there.
It's still in there. Car's been sold at auction, and they're like, "Yeah, that's factory."
Yeah.
Hey, when we
Oh
come
yeah.
back, we're going to tell you about Toyota buying back one of its newest models. That's not good. And
Mm.
hot collector cars from the 90s. Les and I have our picks, so stay tuned.
Right.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. And we're going to talk about something that's not great for Toyota. The BZ4X, one of
Well,
the worst names.
this is what happens when you come up with a ridiculous name.
Yeah, it is their first electric vehicle. I actually look forward to driving it, but
Well, not now, you don't.
no, Electric, Electrek publication reported that Toyota has sent letters to buyers advising them to continue to avoid driving this vehicle. They are buying them back because the wheel can fall off.
Well,
Abrupt acceleration could cause the vehicle's hub bolts to loosen, making it more likely that a wheel would fall off. So not the lug nuts, but what holds on the hub. And
that's really serious.
so it's nothing to do with it being an electric vehicle. It's just a manufacturing. Of course, this BZ4X is also the Subaru Solterra, which means that is also being recalled.
Well, sure.
Now, none of these vehicles has yet been delivered to the U.S., but in other areas of the world, people are buying them back. You can imagine that is embarrassing to Toyota, isn't it?
It's very embarrassing because you could easily lose the buyer.
Yeah.
Shaken faith.
It's just not
But
the
think of the money.
Toyota. It's just not Toyota's way of doing things,
No.
So, yeah, think of the money that's involved in buying that back, and it's big. It's big and it's embarrassing. So, hey,
And on
speaking.
top of that, they may not be able to even give you an alternate model that you're willing to buy.
Yeah. So,
Well, we don't have any of those.
what's the problem, I wonder? Is it they just were not torqued properly at the factory, or is it
No,
a
it's
manufacturing problem?
probably the forging,
Wow.
of the shaft. It's probably improperly forged. It might have micro cracks in it. It could have voids.
Wow.
But if it's shearing off,
Not a
you've got
good
to
thing.
call them all back.
Yeah, not a good thing. I don't know how many of them are out there, but certainly that's a vehicle that's going to be delayed coming to the U.S., I would say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Hey, we always like to point out very safe vehicles, and Subaru scored a big victory. Subaru Outback, the only model to earn the top rating in the latest IIHS side impact testing. The only mid-size car among those tested to earn the rating good, which is a good rating. It's not like, oh, thank you, that's adequate.
Yeah.
And it is the second Subaru model to secure the top rating for the new IIHS test. So that is big news for them, isn't it?
It is, especially, the impact speed is actually increased
Yep.
from 31 to 37
Yep.
MP. That's a lot of energy.
Yeah. So it's a heavier barrier traveling faster, and it did well. So that's good news for Subaru and the Outback. And we figured we just wanted to call out something that's really good, right?
Yeah, they should be proud.
Oh, I think so. I think so. Probably a lot of manufacturers are not proud of some of the vehicles they built in the 90s. I guess
Well,
the mid 80s.
Geo Metro might.
The late 80s and the early 90s are typically referred to in the automotive journalist world as the malaise era, where it was very cheap interiors, slug-like performance, just nothing of value, right? Nothing.
That's right.
Uh,
Um,
remember the X cars? I,
oh yeah.
they like the Chevy Citation, and there's a whole other. I mean, it
Oh
was the
boy.
second
Ford Astro van.
Ford Astrovan. Yeah, it no Ford, no Astrovan is Chevy.
That was Chevy. Yeah.
What was the Ford van? I remember that.
Aerostar.
Aerostar. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had an engine that was impossible to work on. It was absolutely under the
Yeah.
dash.
Completely inaccessible.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Um, yeah, a lot of forgettable vehicles. Well, over at Bring a Trailer, they say the average value of a 90s vehicle on Bring a Trailer has risen 82% from 2020 to 2022. And that is driving what is considered collectible, right?
Well, yeah. Um,
And by the
it,
way, 1993 Geo Metro LSI convertible is on the list at 11,671.
well, I guess I won't be able to sell my Daihatsu Nubira.
Oh God, that brings back a memory. So, CEO Randy Nonnenberg says collector automobiles go through a cycle where they are forgotten for a decade or two
Right.
before nostalgia drives them. They're now financially stable fans to buy them up. Right now, we're seeing 90s becoming the new 50s when it comes to collectors who are and enthusiasts who are seeking them out. Uh,
Well, some of these I even felt at the time would have the value, like the Nissan Sentra SER.
yep.
'Cause that was a hot little car.
Yeah, hot little car. Volkswagen Eurovan. You hated that
I
thing.
I reviewed one of those for the Washington Times, and I said it was just dangerously dreadful. It was grossly underpowered.
Now, I agree with this one. 1993 Jeep Cherokee, one sold for 19,250. Those little Cherokees were great with the straight six.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
super off-roaders. There's all kind of stuff to lift them and make them really good off-roaders. Kind of sad to see that price that high though, it used to be
Uh,
there was a $10,000 range of collector cars, and then there was like a $20,000 range.
yep,
Everything's gone up collector cars wise,
way up.
So let's take a look at some of these. 1990 GMC Jimmy. I guess the
Uh,
Jimmy was the full size, and then there was an S10 Jimmy too, right?
yeah, yeah. Not interested in those. I would have no idea of what their appeal is. Just
What's the Saab 900 SPG? Do you remember that?
I was going to ask you that. I think that's the convertible, isn't it?
What was the name? I think I got it. It was the Vigan, right? The performance
The
version.
Vigan. Yeah, the Vigan was the performance trim,
It was also known as the Torque Steer Edition because when you got into
massive.
the throttle, and Cal Shake Edition, it
That's
had
right.
both. It had Cal Shake,
Yeah,
which is where it feels like the car, the front half is going one way and the rear half is
yeah.
going the other, and Torque Steer, when you got on the throttle, it would pull right. Whoop.
I was at an event in one of those, and I swear the torque, and I just laid into it, and the torque steer was so great, I actually thought I could do a J turn in the same lane
Without the use of
without
the
using the
emergency
brake.
brake.
It was scary torque steer.
Toyota Celica 1991,
Those were
33,500.
always, you know, desirable.
I think I would say some of the Camaros and the Firebirds, especially the ones modified by
Mhm.
SLP, Street Legal Performance, that were done for um, they did some aftermarket and they did some for GM. I think those would be some collectibles. What do you think?
And we talked earlier, the Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4, spectacular
Yep.
sports car. Those are super collectible. You know what else is obscure, but I believe really collectible.
What's that?
That's the Sterling.
Oh, the Sterling, right? What? Who? That was two. That was an English
That
and
was
a.
Rover made the car, and Honda made the engine transmission drivetrain.
So the electrics may not work, but the engine will do a great.
That's right.
The
And it
headlights
seemed,
you won't be able
yeah,
to see with the headlights, but
it seemed like a good marriage of components.
yeah,
It wasn't,
yeah.
but it's a beautiful car, very very luxurious inside.
Collectible cars from the 90s. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. What car will be collectible from the 90s? We like to know. Hey, I'm Fred Staub. He is Les Jackson. When we come back, we've got plenty more cruise control, so stay tuned.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. Fred and I were just going through the collectible cars of the 90s. By all means, as Fred said, if you have a selection, a choice of one, let us know what it is.
Yeah.
We'll mention it.
Yeah. The cost of collectability has gone up. Have you noticed a lot of Corvettes that were always in the 20 to 25, like some of the
Yeah.
C3s, the coupes were 20, the convertibles were 25 for the longest time. They've now moved up 10 grand, you know?
They have, and they were sort of in the same place for like 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now everything's up. And speaking of collectible,
Yeah.
and you can't say collectible without the original 64 Mustang, 64 and a half
Uh-huh.
Mustang, and the Ring brothers, who are a builder,
Yep.
a custom builder. They have created, man, oh man, it's a perfect Mustang convertible, but they actually built the car. They didn't assemble it. They built it.
They built it. They are, when I've seen their works at SEMA, it is, you just stand there for hours and you find new stuff, new details.
The detail is phenomenal, and the level of workmanship is,
it's all
art. It's art. It's
what's kind of interesting here is they probably used a licensed body for this, I would imagine. It's built as a 64 and a half Mustang convertible. It's known as Cage.
I actually had one in that color.
Oh my, it's a nice color actually. It's like burgundy, right?
It was a maroonish burgundy. Yeah,
It's BASF glass writ burgundy brave.
Yep, mine had a black interior,
and all the chrome and stainless steel trim was treated with Crecoat Titanium C150P, which is weirdly a finish that is used often on firearms. Crecoat, very durable. It's not affected by solvents. It's not easily scratched. So that's a cool thing there. And this was commissioned by one of their clients, and the idea was to subtly evolve and modernize the original Mustang's lines and proportions while honoring the aesthetic of Ford's original pony car. And that's the neat thing. It looks, if you just look at it, you go, oh, yeah, that's just a nice Mustang, But if you look closer, it's not. It's just all this subtle stuff.
we have to, we need to guess what this thing cost. I'm going to say a minimum of $500,000.
I would say, probably.
Maybe.
Every piece has been touched and updated with the original design cues down to the iconic Mustang taillight bezels. The best taillights ever, by the way, in the original Mustang.
Yep. Beautiful, beautiful car.
There are a lot of nuances that went into the design, says Jim Ring, and we're proud of every aspect of the build. The redesigned front grille is set back 2 inches and feeds air into the Ford Performance 5-liter Coyote engine. And the custom-built headers by the Ring Brothers, Flowmaster exhaust, all the good stuff here. 10-speed automatic transmission at 10R80. Continental tires, one-off 18-inch EVOD industry wheels. The only thing that is not been touched are the center caps for those wheels. Those are Ford pieces.
What a man! But where?
You're left speechless.
Where could you drive it?
I think you
so expensive.
Have it transported to shows. I love the treatment of the bumpers, though. Frankly, I wonder what that treatment would cost compared to chrome. I almost like it better. And
it's probably a lot more expensive.
Although
than
it's
chrome.
a common coating, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Well, I think we'll just have to have the Ring Brothers on to talk about this.
Something real quickly, I and I should have known this. You know, I know the people at Holman and Moody
Mm-hmm.
from the old days. I wasn't aware that they still have some original GT40 chassis
Wow.
and and body panels, and they're building them. Forget about finding one because they're all spoken for. They're $1 million a piece,
Wow.
but they are actual legal GT40s. It's, as a factory
They're new
serial
old
number.
stock, basically, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. That
Um,
is that is crazy.
and I wish I knew that. I'd have gone down and visited them before now.
Back in the day when they're like, yeah, that's just some old parts. You give us $500 for the pile there, and
Well, yes, I was lucky to buy some stuff from them.
yeah. Um, this is an interesting thing. Down in Texas, somebody was found with $12 million of stolen catalytic converters. Big.
$12 million.
Yes, what they would do, they put it out on the internet that they were
Hmm.
buying, and people called cutters who were cutting them off cars would
Yep.
show up with a van with a load, and then these people would buy them. The stupid part is, though, they left all this stuff in their garage, and when they and then the police caught on to it, uh, and they were found in 7 Texas homes, but they kept all this stuff with them, including a stolen Dodge Charger Hellcat and 29 firearms. So
Ooh.
these guys are all around 20 years old, and I guess they were either selling these things that had been, if they had been removed, without destroying them, they were selling them as a new catalytic converter to replace the one that they stole, which is kind of ironic, or just parting them out for the precious metals. The precious metals, Les, are $2,148 per ounce for the palladium found.
Yeah, platinum and palladium.
So that tells you what kind of money they're looking at. But kind of dumb to leave them at your home, don't you think?
Well, yeah, it seems to me that the first thing you learn when you're stealing stuff is to fence it off.
Get rid of it. It's hot,
Yeah,
and
that's why they call it hot.
yes, and and so so they opened up their garages and found piles of these things. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, didn't Leno used to do a thing on dumb criminals where they just do dumb stuff?
You read about those all the time. Just stupid.
Like a guy rips off an ATM and he leaves his ATM card in the machine.
Right. A guy robbed a bunch of people and took a cab and left his wallet in the cab
Yeah,
in
exactly.
New York City. Oh yeah, it's just great.
Yeah, exactly. So, wow. The main target, believe it or not, is a Toyota Tundra.
Well,
I don't know why
big,
that is. I guess it's a big
big
converter
catalytic converter,
and
easy to get to.
easy to get to. Yeah, enough ground clearance and you can get tools in there. And yeah, that's lousy. That's lousy stuff. Could they make that out of something that was less? That would be a great tech piece, to make a catalytic converter out of something that's just not very expensive.
Cardboard.
How well would that do when exhaust temperatures got up pretty high?
You can't start it.
Yeah, pretty badly. Hey, we appreciate you listening to Cruise Control. Don't forget to check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We're going to see you down the road.
Bye.